Part 2, as it pertains to the Freedmen's Memorial Emancipation Monument unveiled April 1886, Washington, D.C. When Fredrick Douglass arose to speak from the book Fredrick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom, by David W. Blight, Part 2. But as Douglass rose to speak in April 1876 to finally dedicate such a monument, he, the recognized the voice of Black America, he prepared a speech of remarkable honesty, poignancy, and presented minded historical insight. First things are always interesting, he declared, and this is one of our first things. It is the first time that in this form and manner we have sought to do honor to an American great man. Douglass made it clear that he spoke at least at first only as an African American for his race. The event was a first for a second reason, that Douglass did not mention black people had never before been represented on a national monument. In this change atmosphere of artistic and political, first on the eve of the nation's centennial and amid the deeply disturbing decline and violent overthrow of the Reconstruction in the South, Douglass struck notes both majestically and sober, and his speech assumed the tone of a requiem, which means like you're doing a eulogy of the mass of the dead, tempered by the modest celebration, restrained nationalism, and redemptive hope. African Americans had tenaciously arrived, finally and openly in the center of the country's highest affairs. Douglass made it clear that the unveiling of this monument to Lincoln and emancipation was a national act performed by citizens in the place where every pulsation of the national heart can be heard, felt, and reciprocated. He insisted on the initial history lesson, referring to the vast and wonderful change in our condition, black freedom and citizenship. No such open commemoration by blacks in Washington would have been tolerated before the Civil War's transformations. Without opening the floodgates of wrath and violence, Douglass congratulated all, white and black, famous and ordinary, on this contrast between then and now. The orator conditioned his audience for the harder truth and starker metaphors to come by letting them feel the long and dark history of slavery as a matter of the past, replaced now by the liberty, progress, and enlightenment. No African American speaker ever faced this kind of captive audience composed of all the leadership on the federal government in one place, and no such speaker would ever again until Barack Obama was inaugurated as president of the United States in 2009. Douglass, a master ironist about America, did not miss this moment of supreme symbolism. He named each contingent of every branch of the government sitting before him, including the President Grant, Chief Justice Morrison, right, senators, representatives, cabinet officials, all acknowledged as wise and patriotic. In this moment, the government was something sacred and enduring, newly remade from recent near destruction, the protector of a reconstructed freedom for whites and blacks. The high officials may have smiled and felt their chests swell at the former slaves' patriotic language. This reconstructed freedom was a reconcentrated freedom. As Douglass struck the chords of civil religion, as he described the stately pillars and majestic dome of the Capitol and the district springtime surroundings of our church as our church in the new America, all races, colors, conditions of men composed our congregation. We, the colored people, proclaim Douglass, rejoicing in our blood-brought freedom, now brought the same experience and sentiment like all other Americans who lay in nearby Arlington Cemetery. For the first time in history, our people, the orator, proudly announced, and in the history of the whole of American people, we join in this high worship. Then Douglass turned to the memory of Lincoln, and the speech assumed a different tone. While claiming a place for his people and honoring the martyred president, Douglass certainly used words that may have shocked some of his audience. It must be admitted, the truth compels me to admit, even here in the presence of the monument we have erected to his memory, Abraham Lincoln was not either our man or our model. In his interests, in his associations, his habits of thought, and in his prejudices, he was a white man. Douglass must have caused some squirming in the chairs as he injected race so forthrightly into his rhetorical tribute. Grant might have inwardly flinched. It was as though Douglass had decided to give voice to the kneeling slave on the statue. He would now say thank you as well as speak some bitter truths about a real history, and not merely allow the occasion to be one of proud national self-congratulation. It was as though Douglass was saying, you have gave me this unique platform today, and I will therefore teach these lessons about the jagged and tragic paths by which black people achieve freedom in the agony of war. He, Lincoln, was predominantly the white man's president. Douglass continued in his forceful baritone, entirely devoted to the welfare of the white man. He was ready and willing at any time during the first years of his administration to deny, postpone, and sacrifice the rights of humanity and the colored people to promote the welfare of the white people of the country.